We are staying on our coverage of the death of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and to help us have make sense of this and just bring more light to this conversation, we have a member of the advisory board of the Geneva Institute of Leadership and Public Policy, Reverend Polycarp Gbaja. He joins me live via Skype from Abuja. Good to have you join us, Reverend Gbaja.
Thank you for having me, Gertrude. How are you?
Thanks for joining us. Now, let's talk about Archbishop Desmond Tutu. We've seen how just several statements just coming from around the world, from world leaders, international organizations, and it all revolves around the kind of person that he was. But what do you think shapes the way we remember Archbishop Desmond Tutu?
I think if we look back, we see a man that was bold, a man that had conviction, a man that loved his people, a man that stood for what he believed was the truth and what was fair and what was just, a man that was never afraid, whether from the pulpit or in the parlance of international or local and national politics. His voice was powerful and strong. He spoke to power at all times, and nobody was sacrosanct. Even his very good friend, when he felt he was walking out of line, that is the great Madiba himself, he spoke against the family or himself or even the ANC. He was a man that was bold. He was a man that had conviction. He was a man with so much passion. He was a man also with consistency. He started a long time way back in the 50s and continued right to his death, what he believed and what he stood for. He made a great difference in his nation. He made a great difference in Africa. He made a great difference in our generation. He spoke with all the presidents of the major countries in the world, and he was never afraid to speak to power. He spoke boldly. He confronted not only by speech, but out there. He walked the streets and he took part in demonstrations, in protests, in very strong representations for his people and for what he believed. And Bishop Tutu will be remembered for his boldness, for his consistency, for his conviction, and for his passion. He was never afraid even to shed tears openly in the public for the things that touched his heart the most.
And perhaps that's why a lot of people see him first as a human being, because he related with people. Just like you said, he could shed tears, he could laugh, he wasn't afraid to show emotions. But you also talked about boldness. It was that boldness he brought to the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. It was that same boldness he used to criticize the ANC when he felt that the ANC was going off tangent. Do you think that when it comes to marginalization in South Africa, that the black community would really miss him a lot in terms of being the voice of hope for that community?
People like that probably happen once in a generation, just like you have of Nelson Mandela. You can't duplicate such people. They are a gift to their times and to their generation. He was to our time and to our space. Where it concerned Nigeria, every country in Africa, he spoke very, very freely. He spoke even on issues that had to do with Israel and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. He spoke about the East and the West. He spoke about local, international issues, and he spoke with such conviction. We were blessed to have a man such as that, and we could even remember the story where the ANC members were beating up someone to almost to death, and he was just driving his car past, and they had beaten him to a pulp with blood all over him, and they put tires over him to burn him up, and Desmond Tutu jumped out of his car and threw himself over this poor individual and stopped them. He backed him up with blood and everything, put him in his car, and rebuked the people and saved that young person harm's way. He was a man that wasn't just all talk. He was all action and all talk. And so we see a man that was truly a gift to Africa. He stood for a lot of things. He was controversial in many issues, we will not agree, we may not agree with him in all the things he did, but he was a man of conviction. He stood for what he believed right to the end.
And you know, that says it all. His ability to be objective and speak the truth at all times, irrespective of who is involved, really does stand him out. Thank you so much for talking to us. Advisory board member of the Geneva Institute of Leadership and Public Policy, Reverend Polycarp Gbaja.